My name is Jacob, and I am a Norse Pagan. I'm out here at the beautiful Raven Run Nature Sanctuary to kind of go on a hike and take you around and show you some beautiful locations that I've found over the years. But also, I'm here to talk about what I believe to be the three most important parts of paganism. It needs to be said, this is my educated opinion. There is no ancient book, at least not to my knowledge, that has the three pillars of paganism written down. It also needs to be said, my position on paganism. I believe we need to move forward. We keep on looking at the past, and yes, it's wonderful. Yes, I love learning more and more about my ancestors and more about the Viking Age, Elder Futhark, Younger Futhark, all those things. But we are the pagans that are alive today. And as I have said before, the greatest age of paganism is not over. In fact, I think that we can have the greatest age of paganism, but we have to move forward. We have to reform. We have to understand what we have in our histories and what we have in our artifacts is not a lot. And in order for us to become a stronger, more unified religion, we have to move forward into the future. I don't want to reform this religion by myself. I want to reform it with every one of you. So until that day when we're all sitting in a temple sacrificing Odin, here are my three most important parts of paganism. The folk, well, us. We are one of the most important parts of this religion, and in any religion, because without us there is no worship, without us there is no sacrifice. And even in my lifetime, I've seen the death of tradition, which is haunting. To me, Thanksgiving is one of the greatest American holidays just because it brings people together. It's about family, it's about eating, it's about celebration. And even with the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, you know, it has never been very commercial. But what has been commercial is Black Friday. And when I was a child in the early 2000s and late 90s, Black Friday started at 6 a.m. on Friday. And now it starts at 8 p.m. on Thanksgiving. So people are now leaving their Thanksgiving dinners with their families, one of the most honorable, cherishable holidays in the United States. They're leaving that to go be a part of consumerism, to buy deals that actually aren't that great, to get the latest product, which they can get the next week for a very similar cost, or wait till after Christmas and boom, it's usually cheaper. So this is one of the things that actually drove me towards paganism, that drove me towards Norse paganism. Because I started looking at my ancestors, and that's when I found Odin. Because I saw these traditions, I saw these values, and I want to uphold those and carry those on to the future. So how do we keep the folk sacred? By quite simply being a family. When one of our pagan brothers and sisters needs help, we need to help them. I'm not saying that you have to send thousands of dollars to help them in their financial troubles, but if there's a pagan close to you, don't be afraid of that drive. The closest pagan to me is about 2 hours away, and if he asked me to, be there for him for an offering, or he's having a hard time, I would make that journey. I know it's a lot, especially in our busy lives, but truly, the biggest thing we can do is be as supportive to one another as we possibly can. The second thing is a little bit more fun, and that is I want us to celebrate more. The most common picture, I think, for Vikings or Viking Age warriors is for them to be eating, feasting, and fighting at long tables and long wooden halls with a warm fire. And I want that more. I want us to build a hall again. I want us to celebrate. I want us to build a fire together and drink ale, drink mead, make mead. All these things are, symbols of us or symbols of our gods. And that's the fun part, and we need to be doing the fun part a lot more. In fact, one of the highest points in our existence, the highest thing we can get into, our greatest afterlife, is a place where we eat, feast, drink, party, fight, come back the next day and do it all over again. That's what we want. That's our highest afterlife that we want, and I love that. But the thing is, we can have that on Midgard too. We don't have to wait for the afterlife. We don't have to wait for the Valkyries to take us home. We can have that here, but we have to get together. That's the most important thing, is the folk. Say what you will about the Vikings TV show, but it does have some amazing lines, and I think it treats death very well in certain areas. I have my critiques of the show, but I do think there are some points to really enjoy. One in particular is when Ragnar dies, when he's in a cage and he gives his death speech. Now, there's a lot around that, but the death speech itself is actually really good. And I am going to read it to you. I don't know how emotive I'm going to be because I'm honestly terrified, but I am just going to read it off the script because it's a lot and I don't want to mess it up, and I do think it's really powerful. So I hope you enjoy, and I hope you take a lot from it. It gladdens me to know that Odin prepares for a feast. Soon I shall be drinking ale from curved horns. I shall not enter Odin's hall with fear. There I shall wait for my sons to join me. And when they do, I will bask in their tales of triumph. My death comes without apology, and I am waiting for the Valkyries to summon me home. Yeah, That gave me chills. And I think there's no better way to describe Norse paganism and Norse death than that. Our death is a triumph. Our death is a celebration. If we have lived an honorable life and we ascend to Valhalla, do not weep for me. Do not weep at a gravestone for me. Burn my corpse in a fire. Celebrate, drink, feast, and continue to celebrate my life. Another thing I would like to see is for us to start bringing back saga writing. When our ancestors died, we wrote sagas about them. When we had legends, we wrote sagas about them. When we had heroes, when they had interactions with the gods, they talked about it. And I know for one thing, when my grandfather dies, I'm going to be writing a saga about him. He's been a huge influence in my life, and he deserves it. And I think that's the thing that means the most to him, is that he has a legacy that can carry on his name. It's not about weeping at a gravestone. It's about celebrating the life we've had. But I could talk about this all day, just as I can talk about all the points I'm bringing up today. It is time to move on. It's a long day. It's already getting hot, and it's only like 9:30, so I need to move down the trail and introduce you to an old friend of mine. Spirits are the next most important part of paganism. Here is actually a spirit I know. It's the first one that ever really showed itself to me. When I was first communing with the gods, when I was first talking to Odin, first talking to Thor and Loki, and leaving them offerings, I felt their presences, and I knew they were individuals, and I knew who they were. And then one day I was hiking here, and I felt something. I felt that godly presence, but it wasn't a god. It was the spirit that lived here. And normally this water is flowing, it's gushing water, but it hasn't rained a lot lately, and maybe it's because I haven't visited in a while. But when I first encountered this spirit, I decided to bring an offering. I actually ran from school, bought a rack of land, and came here, ran down this trail in like 30 minutes, and dropped it off, and said this to the spirit, that I believed in it. I knew it existed. I recognized its existence, and I recognized its power. And I was leaving this offering to give it strength. I left it a Mjolnir pendant to know that my gods, the gods of the north, recognize its existence. And others who come through here that are pagan, it should bask in their, their love. And that's kind of why I'm making this video too, because if you ever come here, if you ever in, Raven Run, you take the right path and you end up at this beautiful little waterfall that's normally gushing, you can pay respect and know that this is a place of sanctuary and peace. And how we bring spirits into paganism is recognizing that gods are not always around. I can't even imagine what a god is doing right now. I don't know what Odin is up to right now. Maybe he's talking to one of you. I know he talked to me earlier, but gods have really important things to do, and we don't understand the scope of the universe, but I know the gods are out there, and I know they're up to really important things. So they're not always going to be around. Now, when they're around, respect them, enjoy them. But the spirits are always here. Spirits are tied to the land. In Norse, paganism, Norse mythology, Scandinavia, they're landvitir. And they're really important to the belief system because they're always around. You can go to a waterfall, you can go to a place of beauty that has a spirit that lives there and ask for help, ask for guidance. Or just simply relax, enjoy the peace, enjoy the company. I mean, weirdly enough, I'm in swampy, horrible water. But I haven't been bit by a single mosquito. I haven't been bothered by a single bug. And I think, things like that are to show that the spirit actually cares for me, to show that the spirit acknowledges my existence. You find those connections outdoors. Bring an offering to them. Bring an offering to that spirit and commune with them. Talk to them. Tell them your problems. They want to hear them. Now, there are some bad ones out there, so be careful. But normally, I have found if you bring offerings, they listen to you. One thing I was also going to say is our children. So if we raise our children with the idea of landvitir and land spirits, I don't think they'll litter, and I don't think they'll disrespect the environment, and will raise a stronger, better generation because they have that respect for nature. I mean, children nowadays aren't being taught the sacredness of the land, the sacredness of the water. I mean, that's a big Native American thing, but it's also a big pagan thing. In fact, most religions that have a nature-based religion respect the nature that they're in. If you think a spirit lives here, you're not going to desecrate it. If you respect this, the spirits around you, you won't litter, you won't desecrate nature, without really caring and thinking about what you're doing. Just like the folk, the spirits could be talked about all day. I mean, there's a whole thing I didn't even talk about with like Icelandic landvitir. So there'll be another spirit video. I'll gladly go into more details. But the lesson that we learned is respect your nature spirits. Go out, speak to them, call out to them, and tell them that you are here and you believe in them. So we have one more thing to get to. I'm going to start heading down the trail, and I really hope you enjoy. But I'll see you at the next place.
How are you? Good, thanks.
And here you have it, one of the most beautiful views in Kentucky, along with this beautiful insect that just laid on my finger. I'm going to keep it there. Hopefully this will stay in the video. This is one of the more inspiring places I've ever been, and it's hard not to feel the gods here. Clearly, the gods are around us, and this is where we're going to talk about our third most important part of paganism, and that is definitely the gods. How do we worship the gods? How do we honor them? Step one is talking to them. It's the most simple thing you can do. Even on the trail here, I was talking to Odin, I was talking to Thor, I was just saying out in the world. I mean, that's power. I mean, their names have not been said for thousands of years, not at least in mass numbers. So having someone say their name and speak to them gives them power, gives them strength. And then next to that is offering, giving offering to them. I mean, I started out small. I started out with bottles of mead, bottles of wine, and then I moved to larger things like meat. You know, I haven't sacrificed a living thing, but I've gone to, you know, the store and I have bought really expensive racks of lamb, you know, a tomahawk steak and things like that, and burned it to them and given it to the gods. And I know it's hard. I mean, I work a 40-hour a week job, and I try to do this on Tuesdays on one of my days off. And it's hard to give time for the gods. I mean, even when I'm making these videos, it's hard because I have to think about angles, think about filming, but I still have to find those moments where I thank Odin, where I talk to Odin. It took me some time to realize in my life that we do not have gods of forgiveness. They do not want you to get on your knees and ask forgiveness for when you mess up. We have gods of honor. They want you to honor them. If you feel like you haven't spent enough time talking to the gods or practicing religion or talking to other pagans, don't apologize to it. Go out and do it. Honor them with your actions. In closing, as I've hit on a couple of times, the most important thing we can do as pagans is get together. If you talk to me on Instagram or YouTube, you know my main goal, my main reason for creating this is to bring us together and to create a temple to Odin, to create a temple to Thor. I told someone the other day, if the last thing I do in my life is lay the last brick of a temple to Odin and then I croak dead, at least I've done something with my life. Now, yes, I really hope the gods let me live and see, you know, this temple flourish, but truly my goal in life is to see a temple built again. So as kind of a bonus thing, one of the things I like to do is actually shout at the gods and shout. And I think it is something that we don't do, and I do encourage you. I think it's very therapeutic in a way, but also a great way to connect with the gods, is to just get on something like this and shout your love for them. I mean, it sounds crazy, and people nearby will probably freak out. But until next time, pagans, I'm Jacob. I'm a Norse pagan. Hail the gods. Hail Odin, the All-Father! He exists and he is real. And I am a Norse pagan, and I am proud of it. I hope you too hear the old gods and the old ways. Until then, hail the spirits and praise the gods. I hope they heard that.